Hey guys, we're back for another episode of In the Trenches. Our guest today, who I'm very excited to share with y'all, is an ACM and CMA award-winning director. He has directed videos for Cody Johnson, Parker McCollum, and many others. But before we get into it, I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe. So let's jump right into it with Dustin Haney. All right, Dustin, how are you?
Man, I'm
Thank
good.
you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I have been waiting for you to get on here, and I'm like always texting Troy. I go, did Dustin commit? Did he commit to doing it yet? He is, but his schedule's kind of funky. All right.
Yeah.
Where are we at with Dustin?
It's been long overdue.
I mean, by the way, congratulations on your ACM
Thank you.
visual media. That video was for Parker McCollum. Burn It Down.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's an awesome video.
It was great. Yeah. That
Playing
was
with toys, rock and roll, fire,
Yeah.
techno cranes, desert, wind.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of rock. It was kind of rock for country. Yeah.
That's cool. But you're no stranger to the award podium. You got, I think, same year or consecutive. You got CMA with Cody.
CMA Video of the Year in 2022.
Till You Can, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. It was Human in the same year. You're just like, I'm just gonna show you another dose of brilliance.
Dude, the Cody thing has been
I don't know
wild.
which one I love more.
It's like honestly, the Cody stuff just keeps getting better and better. He's just great.
Well, it gets better and better because of your relationship too.
That is probably the best relationship I have in country, and it's just like it's what everybody lusts after, just having somebody that trusts you and also lets you kind of do your thing within the parameters of what their artistry is. And he's so hands off now with me that it's just a blast,
A blessing.
It's a huge blessing. Yeah,
and I'm sure you inform him on things and keep him to keep him excited and interested and invested in the creative, right?
Yeah. I always say it's nice when you get those relationships because you don't if you're not micromanaged, I feel more responsibility to the artist.
For sure.
I'm like trying to make sure that I'm still on the line,
Yeah,
so
you appreciate that trust and that line, that open rope to go.
It's
create.
a relationship, hold on loosely, and you build more love and respect, and
So you live in Nashville? Are you from here?
I'm from Nashville. Yeah.
No shit. I'm asking questions because I'm a fan of yours. I think you're amazing, and I want to learn about you. So you're from here?
I'm from here. I claim it. A lot of the thoroughbreds would challenge me on where I was born.
Okay.
The first question's always like, "Are you from Nashville?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Born here?" I'm like, "I was not born here." And they're like, "Oh, okay. So you weren't born at Vanderbilt?" I'm like, "No, I was not born in Vanderbilt." But no, I was born in Evansville, Indiana, only because it was close to where my parents lived in Southern Illinois. My dad was a coal miner in Southern Illinois, and we lost our house when I was a kid, and my dad just put us all in the car and said, "We're driving south." And then he pulled off in Nashville and was like, "We're going to stay here." So that's how I ended up. And I was like 6, I think. So,
6.
Yeah.
Your dad was a coal miner. So
yeah.
Where did your love for film, photo, imagery, visual come from?
So I wanted to be a comic book artist is what I wanted to do. And I took a bunch of classes early on as a kid in art and composition and storyboarding.
Storyboarding, I was going to say. That's
so it kind of started freehand like that. And then I got in a video church. And of course, they go through all the young up and comers, and they're like, "Hey, can you run a camera?" and that kind of thing. And so I ran a jib for 6 years at my church or something, and then made it a career. And
you're like 9 of the 10 artists you talk to. Well, I started off singing in my choir. And
yeah,
you're just doing it for the visual side.
Yeah. It's funny that there's a common thread, especially too in the video industry in Nashville. I think Chris Adams is. I think he might have started in church.
Did he?
I don't know. He might have. Now I feel like I might be making that up. I feel like I've heard that before, but
okay, well,
but yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And how did it transition into to film?
So
your comic books. I can see you love color and composition and design.
I honestly went after the story aspect. So I kind of I did the whole thing, like every position on set, and I PA'd and I worked for grip department.
So you knew you wanted to do it young.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a guy in my church that actually had edited over 100 #1 country videos. And he was like, he just saw an eager to learn kid and was like, he drugged me out on some outdoor channel shows he was shooting. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. You get to go places and you're working with people that are kind of famous. And, you know, there's a very communal aspect about it, like a community aspect. And I was like, I got the bug, and then I ended up touring pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
So I went out with a bunch of bands as like photo, video, and then quickly.
What year was this? Was this during the content era?
It was like right before. It was. I feel like I always say I got in while the getting was good. Okay. Like there was actually still a pretty decent day rate on the road, and I felt like I hit the ceiling. Okay. And then when it started going down is when I jumped ship. I was like, I can't do this. So that would have been like 2014, okay. I think.
Okay.
2013, 2014 is when I started.
You got your chops.
Yeah.
Kind of going into that in that space, learning the cameras and just kind of the industry and editing probably a lot.
Editing
on
a
the
ton.
fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just being a fly on the wall. And
so how was that transition then, going from, because a lot of people, let's dive into this a little longer than expected, because I've just caught on to a cool vibe here.
Yeah.
Not everybody, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people would love to know the transition, how you transitioned from the road to doing, or at least getting your feet in the door to do music videos and building your portfolio.
That's actually a funny story. So I was on the road, and I was on the road, I always say 2 years too long, where I was so burnt out. And I was just like, I actually was working with an artist at the time who had fired his manager. And so I ended up in no man's land where he had no manager and I was collecting a salary. And I was like, there's no one on the other end of my emails. Like none of my content was getting used for a year. And I was like, this is where videographers go to die. Yeah. So I was just like, the check feels good, but I'm like, yeah, this is not fulfilling at all. So I started putting out feelers. Obviously, the good thing about touring is you learn how to work with the artists and how to be close to them. And then you obviously have all the label connections. Everybody already knows you. They associate you at that level. I decided that I was just going to fake it till I made it and just tell everyone, no, I'm a director. So I started emailing people and I was just like, hey, I'm directing now. And I just kept saying it. A lot of times, no response. And it took 6 months, which I feel like is actually kind of quick, before I finally got an email from someone. Hey, so-and-so recommended you. I heard you're a video director. And then I got like my first music video off of that. So it took 6 months of me. I turned down so many tours. Once people heard I quit the tour I was on, I think I got offered Thomas Rhett, Lady Antebellum. Like I got offered better jobs. And I was like, no.
But also what I've learned from a lot of guests, that line in the sand that you drew by saying it wasn't just fake it till that was part of it. Saying acting as if and putting that out there.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been the same if you were saying that from a tour bus in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You drew that line, you got off the road. That was half of it. You know what I mean? And that said a lot. Turning down Thomas Rhett is enough. That's probably 2000. What do you say, 17 or whatever?
That would have been. That was a big year for him.
That was his pop.
I think it was his first arena run. Yeah,
just pop big. I remember I shot photos of him, and shortly after that, it just he incorporated the right stage presence or whatever to make it. I don't know. He was songs.
I mean, that was a hot time for touring too. Like there were some big tours coming out.
Wow, so that couldn't have been easy. Did you take a hit financially?
I did. Yeah.
And that's part of it. So you got. I say it to a lot of directors. When you make that transition, you're jumping from that lily pad, and it might be a small lily pad, a big. I don't care, but you're now swimming in a waters that want to take you down. Yeah. That's where you learn the most.
Yeah, I grew a lot then, and it
swam.
It was a cool challenge though, because it was one of those times that I was like, I just couldn't survive. I let myself go long enough that I was like, there is no other way for me. Like I have to direct, or I just have to get out of the industry altogether. So it fake it till you make it. But also, it was also one of those things where I was taking side jobs doing music videos while I was on the road. Sure. And so I knew I had a little bit of like confidence, I guess, in the fact that I was not going to have a problem transitioning to that. But honestly, like we see it all the time, like, and no shame to the guys that still do it, but when you're working on the road and you're doing music videos, unless you're doing legacy stuff like you are, I love photography and I'll still go like take photos, and I appreciate it in such a more romantic way now than I do. Like if I went out on the road, I would probably not even shoot the stage, to be honest. Like I'm there for all those little moments, like outside of it.
That's it. I'm known for being like, I was just out with Aldine and it was a lot of walking backstage. I mean, some of this, I told Troy before you got here, I go, I wish my big screen was still up so you can see some of them Aldine photos. They're beautiful. Thank you. I mean, because that's what it is. When I go out, it's like you said, it's legacy photos. It's legacy photos for them and me. And that's the importance why I go out still. It's important to me in my brand, in my career, to pave that way. The ownership and the art of shooting these artists and seeing these artists the way I do on a level that is legacy and career lasting. That's what I do. And that's what I see. And I've laid that line in the sand as well. So I'm liking what you're saying.
It's a more prestigious way to approach it, I think, because those images live a lot longer than, there's some of those iconic stage shots, but like I have this photo I took of Luke Combs years ago, and he's brushing his teeth in the green room and exit in, and I'm like, or no, it was Basement East. It was pre-tornado Basement East. Wow. And he's just brushing his teeth in the green room, and it's probably my favorite photo. Like he's standing there with a Colgate bottle of toothbrush, and he's just like smiling. I love it.
I've got a Brad Arnold 3 Doors Down in his hotel room toothbrush.
That's amazing.
With all the stuff. He's just like, and it's through the reflection.
We probably share this interest, but I'm a massive Greg Williams fan, like obsessed. I think his stuff is just so perfectly imperfect all the time.
He's very much in my inspiration. However, in my work, I got heavily induced into the directing world, and I left photo. And so then it shaped me creatively. So I do feel. I remove some of the imperfections of what Greg does, and I fill it with some of my cinema perfection. It's just my style, and sometimes it kills me that I have that. But
it's kind of a curated honesty when you take that, because motion, opens up so much of the before and after of those photo moments, and it's like if you can curate it a little bit, I feel like that's where you find this kind of like, whoa, you found a moment, and it's like, I coordinated it a little bit, but. It's a moment.
Exactly. Here's a situation that's gonna satisfy all of my criteria in these 4 corners. Now let's catch lightning in a bottle.
Totally.
Do you miss kind of like? Do you still shoot photo as a feather in your cap as a director?
Yeah, I do. I shoot photo from time to time. Usually it becomes a package, right? Like it's so rare to get just a photo job or just a video job. A lot of times, like I do mostly just videos, but every now and then it'll be like, oh, I noticed you do photos too. Would you be interested in that? And so like sometimes I'll tack that on. But I also, going back to the road thing, like drawing that line in the sand, I have a lot of respect for people who do photo, and I have a lot of respect for people who do video. Sometimes if it works out really well, I'll do both on a job, but I respect the one-track mind of being like, and I started to say that earlier, like some of the guys that still choose to be on the road and do music videos, it is so tough. And I think confusing for clients sometimes to know what you're best at. It's like, I try to be like not so much a jack of all trades and just a master of one. And then there's no doubt for the client to be like, oh, he does this, So, but the photo stuff is still really fun for me. I have so many photo books in my house, and I constantly flip through that stuff.
Yeah, for me, kind of having directed so many videos, that I felt like the videos came and went.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You did that. Was that the video? No. Oh, was it the video? Versus hanging on a wall.
Yeah.
Put it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I have so many photo books. you know, I started to feel as I got older and have children, I feel like, how can I make something that has a little bit more forever lasting in people's minds or whatever? And so I went after that specific style of photography. You see, I didn't live in the advertising world shooting kids playing softball. You know, I'm shooting these music because I already have that relationship with these, and of course it turns into promo presses, album packaging. But what I go for is the meat on the wall. Now, what would be one of your favorite videos that you have shot, whether it was with the artist or just the experience, or it came out right, or it came out better than you thought?
Honestly, Cody Johnson's Human video is probably my favorite.
I like it as your favorite too. I love it.
I love, like, we just had Dirt Cheap come out, and Dirt Cheap is like I bawled my eyes out from writing the concept to shooting it to editing it. Like, I was just crying the whole time, and it's special in a certain way. Human, it didn't get as much commercial traction as everything else, but to me, I shot a lot of it.
I love honestly, I like how moody it is. That's right up my way.
Well, my thing was like, I feel like on that one, Cody, it was the first video that Cody gave me a lot of trust on, and we spent a lot of time with him. Like, I was on the road with him for 3 or 4 runs. We did an additional 3 days in Texas. So we covered, I think, 12 days over total for that video. But the point was to try and not just do the surface level live video that everybody does. Obviously, it's kind of a self-aware song where it's talking about him being on the road. So I was like, we need to bring that cinematic aspect, talking about those like iconic images. Like, I kind of treated that like a photo shoot where I was like, let's go on the road. But instead of spending so much time on the stage, like, I've got him like wiping the sweat out from under his hat when he's sitting in Guitar World, and he's just like lit disgusting. And it's just a really gross moment. And I every time on that video that I felt like you normally shouldn't roll the camera, I rolled the camera. And then most of those moments made it in, like all those moments of like the imperfect stuff. So that one holds a special place because I also got to shoot on the road, and I hadn't shot on the road in like 6 years.
It's true, you know, because you can easily concept that idea on paper, right?
Yeah.
And when you get into the budgeting of it, go, oh, God, we can't afford 4 days, whatever, 2 runs with the camera packages, you know, or whatever. I can see this happening. And going, well, fine, we'll do it in 1 run. But the thing is what you said. You might get some iconic moments for sure. Yeah. But you have to run the camera, move and find and explore to get those shots. Yeah. So doing 3 runs, you're now increasing your chance of never repeating that special moment and it feeling like a one-on-one. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. Who shot that?
So I shot all the live stuff, and Cody Duncan. Shot all the stuff in Texas. Yeah. And we were just a ragtag bunch of guys down there too. I think it was 5 of us or something.
Shout out to Cody. I dig that guy.
I love Cody.
He's done like I think 3 or 4 of mine.
Yeah. I just took him to Greece for 2 weeks shooting like a random like reality TV show type thing, and we had a blast. It was hilarious.
Wow. Now let's talk about while we're talking about creative stuff, let's talk about how did you concept into Parker McCollum's Burn It Down. Burn It Down.
Yeah. So even more so than the lyrics for me, production is a huge thing for me. And that one had such an ambitious it sounds like he's underwater for that whole first verse. And I was like kind of latching onto that when I heard it. That was the first thing I was like, I love a 3-act video. Like, my favorite thing to do is start it, grow it in the middle, and then wrap it up in the end, and just like give yourself, if it's not a storyline, then the video production wise needs to go. And I knew that we didn't want to do like, that wasn't really a narrative song. So for me, that was an open solicit. That wasn't a direct bid. Like, I knew I was writing against a bunch of other people, and I had met Parker already. He actually presented me and Cody with the award and at CMA. So we met over that, and we had some mutual friends and stuff. So I had a little bit of insight onto kind of who he was and his kind of rock star stuff. So for me, I was listening to it and I was like, we just need to make him look like a stud. And I was like, I'm a desert rat. Like, my dream is to retire in the desert. Like, I'd love to be out there.
I saw it from your Jeep, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like already thinking desert, because I'm just like, this video needed all the aspects of production. It needed to have fire, obviously. And then I was like, it needs to grow in 3 acts. So what can I kind of do to build it into that? And I grew up on rock. And when I heard that song in that last big moment, I was like, oh, I really want to do like fire cannons. And I'd kind of been retaining this idea of burn barrels. And I was like, maybe this is a good time to use that. So that's kind of how I pitched it. I was like, 3 acts. I want his wardrobe to feel like he just got singed out of hell and walking through the desert, and it just came together. And then the boot fire thing was a happy recommendation from my pyro guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I was like, we were on a call and he's like, do you want to do a body burn? And I was like,
yes.
What is a body burn? And he's like, well, we rub gel on him, we light him on fire. And I was like, okay, I like that. Let's reel it back a little bit. Maybe we just do his boots. I was like, he's sponsored by Luke Casey. Luke Casey will totally throw a pair of boots in here. And they would love that. I actually met the CEO of Luke Casey, and he was like, that boot fire video. But that turned out really great. That's the shot everybody talks about.
The boot fire.
Yeah. But I keep trying to tell him live he needs to get like a trigger pedal so that he can go backstage, grease his boots up, and come out and kick the pedal, and it just lights his feet. Because it only burns for like 6 seconds. Amazing. I did burn his feet though on that video.
Did you?
Yeah. He was fine with it. He didn't get cold feet.
No, he didn't. Hey, ting. Jason Aldine he never fails to remind me that he got a speeding ticket on the way home from one of my jobs. So I was like, yeah, I get it. Now, how I'm gonna ask questions and just let's get into some things how are you when I get a job, the first thing that comes to my mind typically is who's gonna shoot it. That's my thing. I think in the line of DP. How in the trenches, no pun intended, are you with the DP? Are you more of a visual director or a story? I mean, do you live in the story? I know it's both. I know I do. But like with me, I'll do storyline videos. Yeah. But I promise you, I am in the weeds visually. Yeah. So ultimately, I'm kind of like I'm itching the visual scratch.
Yeah. That's probably a better question for the DPs I work with, but I feel like for me personally, I'm pretty visual.
Exactly. Your work is.
Yeah. So. I call lenses. A lot of times I know what lens is before we even hire the DP. I honestly, location is probably my first thought.
Me too.
Every time.
It's heavy.
Yeah. It's like, to me, it's the cheapest form. When music videos, we don't get a lot of money to work with. Yeah. So if you can get a good location, it makes everything else a lot easier. Sure. Not from a logistical standpoint, but strictly just visual, Yeah. It's like that fire video in Nashville with Parker would not have been the same thing.
No.
Where
was that shot?
Albuquerque on Laguna Pueblo. Yeah.
Was that on purpose or was he on tour?
That was on purpose. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he was coming from
Didn't go to
Stagecoach.
the El Mirage Desert out in okay.
It's funny. I picked Albuquerque because I just love New Mexico, and I was like, we looked at Vegas for a second, but we got sent location photos, and I saw this big Pueblo rock in the location photos. And I was like, that's fucking sick. Let's shoot that. And we get there, and this very Native American rep is like, that's a sacred rock. You can't show that rock. And I was like, we had to do a little bit of finessing to allow us to show that rock because we made it all the way out there. Like, why are we not going to show it, But it was a cool spot. I liked it because it had red in it. It was like a lot of desert just ends up being dead, and there was a lot of red tone in that one that was kind of cool.
But. How are you? I mean, I would say I was almost a colorist before I became a director, believe it or not. Yeah. I was literally sitting in on mega sessions with mega colorists. And that's what I wanted to do. So by learning that from the inside out as I was becoming a director, naturally I implement it in my photos, I implement it in my all my visuals, but it's also in how you location scout, art direct. Yeah. Everything has to be built into your palette to get the palette you want. That being said, is that something that means a lot to you?
Yeah.
The
Color can save or ruin a video, in my opinion. It's like sometimes you can get away, like that's one of those things, right, between low budget, medium budget. It's like low budget, someone's color, like most likely whoever's doing a low budget video is coloring it themselves. Sure. So for me, that's almost a factor for me. If I can't afford to pay someone to color it, then I won't do it.
I'm that way with the right camera package because that's one of my brushes.
Yeah.
It's what I use to get what I need. It's
Yeah.
the same thing as you just said about coloring. You have to have your team
It's
and
crucial.
your accoutrements to be able to get what you're promising your client.
Yeah. Yeah.
That coloring is. And do you have a colorist you use regularly?
I could shout out a bunch of guys. I love Parker Jarvie.
Yeah, come on.
Parker Jarvie from Company 3 is awesome.
I just used
I'm trying to think. Parker comes to mind. We're birthday twins. We're both the same age and born on the same day, which is wild.
Whoa.
But we joke about that a little bit. Old Captain Cinema on Instagram just colored dirt cheap. Who else do we use? Jimmy Chains in Nashville.
Yeah,
I
Jimmy.
love Jimmy Cadenas. He's actually my neighbor here in town.
Jimmy.
He colors a lot of my stuff. Honestly, I'm a big Basslight guy. I don't know what it is, but a lot of times when I use guys in DaVinci Resolve, I have trouble getting exactly where I need to be. So
in what way? Too crunchy? Too in the black?
Sometimes it's in the windows, and I think it's totally just who's more comfortable in what software. But I find a lot of times I like what I get out of Resolve better, out of Basslight better. But Resolve, I think both tools can achieve the exact same thing, but I always gravitate towards a lot of the guys that use Basslight. Like Jimmy uses Basslight and Parker's on Basslight. Okay. But I'm drawing a blank on color right now. Oh, colorist. Derek Hansen is another one I use a lot. He's great. He's a Basslight. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I go back with Company 3 for almost like 90% of my old videos were all at Company 3 back in like when they were two different offices and moved and stuff like that.
Were you coloring film or digital then? Film.
I've done both, but them. Yeah. Dave Hussey was one of my main guys.
Do you miss film?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know why I miss it? Because it. I think I said it in a couple podcasts back. I feel like everything nowadays visually in our space when you're working with Alexas and the 35 now, Sony Venice 2s.
Yeah.
It's all, with the colorists, it's all looking so unbelievably good.
Yeah.
It looks, if you're shooting right and you're having professionals, it's great. Film allowed for just I feel like a slightly a mystery, a heightened level of craft work. Things were different. If you didn't have the light versus you do have light, it's a totally different look.
Yeah.
You weren't transferring film with just everyone.
Yeah.
So now color it was similar to like eating sushi. Everything was a proper way of doing.
Yeah.
And now I've worked out the kinks, of course.
Yeah.
But yes, to answer your question, I do miss film.
Yeah.
I miss the mystery. I miss the going to the color session and hyped that what I felt I shot could not be what I shot or could be better once we get in it, I mean, I have some nightmare stories in those color sessions, man.
Yeah.
Shooting film. I remember I told a story the other day. I was doing a really, really big video.
Yeah.
Chris Probst, amazing DP.
Yeah.
Top fiver. I love him.
Yeah.
And he and I were always very aggressive with the time of the day.
Yeah.
Meaning lunch, cool. Go to lunch. We're gonna go shoot.
Yeah.
And I agreed the band. We got on Vespas and driving down East LA and shooting. Well, we went to lunch. Called lunch. And went to lunch. We had just shot a beautiful scene.
Yep.
Took the camera, half shot. I'm trying to remember it. Still filming the camera, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, shot. Came back. Put the camera where it was. Came back and after lunch shot the big wide. The big, beautiful wide. Waves coming through the window. Boom, big wide performance. Get to the color session 4 days later, searching, scrolling for that wide. Well, guess what? It was never shot.
Oh, man.
We shot that wide. Well, the film was the loader didn't reload a full roll, thinking we still had the roll of film from the previous take. So we were just rolling the spool around and around and around and around.
Doesn't that makes me cringe? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you treated your PAs. I mean, you should see me on set.
Yeah.
I love my PAs. Even today, I go to my PAs. Are you good? You good? You good? Why?
Yeah.
Why do you so? Well, because if you weren't back in the day, they would flash your film.
Oh yeah.
They would leave a roll behind in the cab.
Yeah.
It was common.
Yeah.
Don't be an ass to them.
I've heard horror stories like that.
Yeah. All it is a what?
Yeah.
And blame it on your DP.
Yeah.
So everyone, it was just a different thing, a different time, you know.
Yeah.
And nowadays you see people shooting film. If you see people shooting film like Nick Allen.
Yeah. Love Nick. Yeah.
Come on, he's shooting it proper.
Yeah.
You know, versus claiming to just shot on film.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just go shoot Alexa and put some filters over it.
Yeah.
If you're going to shoot film, do it with the craft work, do it with
Yeah.
And, you know, in the music video space, in my world, I see Nick doing it flawlessly.
Yes. Film separates the pros from the nos a lot of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know my background, you know, how far it goes back. But yeah, it's all on, you know.
Yeah.
I would say at this point, you know, I not shoot film now, but I would say 70% of my work was film.
Yeah.
35.
I love shooting on film. If and when I can, I do. And
yeah. Now, have you played around with 16 versus 35?
I have. I shot one music video on 35, kind of just to get my feet wet.
Felt good, didn't it?
It felt awesome. I like 16 better.
You like the grain. You like
I had Dylan Schneider. I don't know if you know Dylan, but
I do.
He's a buddy of mine, and he came in and shot a short film. He's a cowboy. Yeah, we get along in that realm. He shot my dirt cheap video for Cody recently too, and he shot Burn It Down.
Did he?
Yeah, he did Burn It Down.
I think I saw it.
He's great. I love Dylan. We're supposed to go horseback riding in October together. He's a cowboy, but he came in and shot a short film I wrote and directed in April. And we shot it all on 16. Kodak sent us a bunch of film, and we got it back, and I was just like, oh fuck! I was like, it's a punk rock short film, so it just looks like fucking wicked.
Yeah, it looks like it was shot back in the day. Right?
It looks like Euphoria shot a lazy short film. To be honest, it's like because some of it was like. Just the imperfections, you know, the stuff that you think you have exactly right, but it's not exactly right there, but it still looks good, you know?
Yeah, and it's you know, you take it into video and you try to create it there, but you're still doing it with the consciousness.
Yes.
No, you got it back and you were,
yeah.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
And 90% of the people on my short film, like, it was actually funny. I was doing the math later of how much production value I had because so many people came out of the woodwork just to come help out just because it was film.
Really?
Yeah.
They just want to be a part of that.
Just wanted to be a part of it, and it was cool. Especially, you know, you've heard it like that. Click, 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 click.
You're looking at your playback, and it's fuzzy. You get lines.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah. It was a blast. That's probably the most fun I've ever had on set.
That's rad.
Doing that.
I remember, God, dude. Because I was at production companies. Now I own my own production company, but the film days were at production companies, so I was getting a director's fee. Okay,
right. So
I remember many jobs. Producer coming up to me mid-job. So, do you know your film count? No. You got about 3 more rolls left and you're out. Well, I got 6 more hours of shooting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go get more film. And next thing you know, your paycheck that you were expecting is like, because you just got to get more film.
Yeah.
But man, that teaches you to today, you know, it teaches you to be, I shoot my music videos, I shoot my digital, no different than I shoot film.
Digital feels like cruise control to me compared to shooting film. It's like, but you're right. Shooting film is such a great barometer for narrowing down your shot list.
Yeah. How many rolls of film, Dustin, do you need? How many rolls of night film do you, for the night scenes do you need?
Talk
to the DP.
Yeah. I literally am always like, hey, you have that.
And then he calls back.
Yeah.
So what do you want to shoot? You know, and then you got to think like slow motion. What do you got? You got to have more film and more light.
Yeah.
I remember on Exhibit, Get Your Walk On video. it was like 109 degrees of light on him. He was right here.
Man, yeah, I mean, takes more light. Yeah.
Coosh. Also to get that look that we got, you're crushing the blacks and your partial colors and get that white, thing. Yeah, I mean, I could talk for days on film. I'm excited that you're shooting film. I can imagine with the craft work and the discipline that you're going to put into it.
I enjoy it.
Your short film is probably going to be nuts.
It's pretty cool. I'm excited. I'm so busy right now. It's been killing me. I haven't gotten to work on it.
Oh, you just kind of put it on the side for a moment?
The cut is done, but I need to get about 60 seconds out of it.
Okay.
And narrow it down. But it's done, and I've been trying to get a color in on it, but it's just summer. It's just busy.
Dude, everyone's busy. I know.
Yeah.
Now, are you at a production company? Or are you your own production company?
I own my own production company.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now
Every production company said no to me in Nashville when I started out, so I was like, I'm gonna make my own.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
I love it. That's how
There's some good ones out there now, but when I was starting, there wasn't that much, and it was tough.
I'll do my own thing. That's great.
Yeah.
What's the name of your production company?
Bordertown Pictures.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
My wife told me on the way out, she's like, you got to wear your hat. And I was like, I just got back from the desert and my hat is disgusting. So.
My God. So early on, what are some movies or directors or what inspired? I could say David Fincher, hands down.
Yeah.
That he is in my work and I can talk for days. What would be your directors or who inspired you?
Probably first would be Christopher Nolan and then Michael Mann. Christopher Nolan was that first one that I was like, cinema took a little bit of a change. I graduated high school in 2011, so I'm trying to remember when The Dark Knight came out. But I remember going to the theaters. I saw that in theaters 2 or 3 times, and I was just like, how did he turn this into such like a blockbuster? That movie feels huge, So that had a big impact on me, and I also liked how meticulous he was with everything. Like Memento, like you talk about prep. Like Memento had to be just to wrap your head around that story and figure out how he did that just amazes me. But then Heat in the 90s from Michael Mann, I was just like, it felt like an old school version of The Dark Knight to me. It had that big city visuals running through the streets, and I was like, this is just wild to me.
You and me need to hang out a lot more, my man, because let me tell you, I saw Heat 22 times. I worked in a movie theater, and I used to just duck down and watch the movie. That movie affected me, and so does Michael Mann, coming from David Fincher. In many ways similar. You got someone who was XY axis, super, super refined, but then you got someone over here who's more open and lighting from afar and just letting it be, not over trapping your cast so they can explore the blocking. And even your blocking isn't so rigid. It's found a bit.
Yep.
Paul Greengrass too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
On that in that layering of those three.
Yeah.
Because he kind of puts them in the middle. Like when you think of Born Identity, which was not him, and then you go into Born Supremacy and Born Ultimate, you're like, dude, you're in the movie. One is more traditional cinema.
Right.
I forget who the European director was, but
I can't remember.
Born Identity.
Yeah.
Very more classical and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. But
the
energy and the movement of the camera, the split-second shots that you read it and you're like, God.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's something there. Yeah. Sam Mendes has kind of the same thing too.
Yeah.
The way he shot 1912 and I always get that year wrong. The one take war movie, but that and
that Children of Men?
1917.
Yeah.
I think it was 1917.
Yes, sorry. I forgot.
But also Skyfall. Skyfall is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love that.
That's
one.
like I just love when they take such a legacy and then play it down like that.
Yeah.
Like Skyfall is a very played down legacy Bond film, and also Greg Williams' work from that set is just spectacular. Yeah.
I'd have access to those sets like that, shoot pictures.
Yeah. I mean, just living in that world. Everything about Skyfall to me is perfect. I'm like, but I love
dusty, and I can see that being your world. You know?
I like to get into the sad shit, the sad, dark stuff. I love getting called for an artist video when they're in their sad ballad. Like, send me that sad ballad. Yeah. Like, I love the hype tracks and the Till You Can't and the Burn It Down. But like when we got Dirt Cheap with Cody, I was like, I was like, this is like I Believe for Brooks and Dunn. Like, this is just heavy and just a different sandbox to play in where you can do a lot visually with that.
Now, do you typically see the video first or write the video first, then see what you're writing?
I see it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, back to the locations and.
Yeah. I usually don't write depending on how much time I have to turn it around. Like, you know how it is. Sometimes it's like, hey, can you do a treatment in 2 days? And it's like,
no, I can't actually.
It's very tough. I've done it a couple of times. Luckily now I get a week usually.
A week. Dang it. Let me marinate. Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Hey, if I got something that's in the hopper that's perfect for this, you're gonna get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If not, let me marinate.
Yeah.
You're coming in for this. Let me think.
I always need a day between text and photos too. Like I can never pull them in the same day.
What is it?
Text and photos. Yeah. So when I'm doing like a treatment,
Troy does.
That's nice. I used to do that for directors back in the day. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've got like 3,000 treatments that I've written over the years.
Yeah.
I'm tired of writing treatments. Like you said, solicit. Yeah. It's not very often I write a job where I have to solicit.
Yeah.
It's
usually, which honestly, I feel like that's the way it should be.
It should.
Like the work. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there leading the solicits, and it's oftentimes not even the commissioners so much as like the people above the commissioners just saying, let's get a bunch of options. What harm can there be in seeing every idea? A lot of harm to the people writing the ideas, because someone who's not suited for it may be looking to, break their previous like trajectory of work, but they're not suited for it.
No, and they're going to write too much they can't even deliver.
Exactly. So it's like, and I tell you, I've written some before that I'm like, well, I'm not working right now. I'm going to write on this. And I overwrite the shit out of it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, God, I'm glad I didn't get that, because I wouldn't have been able to
eat my budget.
Do that for the budget. Yeah.
Now, you started your own shop.
Yep.
Proud of you for that. Not a lot of people would. It was nerve-wracking because I don't know if you had to. I'm sure somewhere along the way you're yelling action and signing an OT check. OT, what I mean, not being so literal to that, but I'm just saying you're wearing a business hat and a creative hat at times, and you got to think like that.
Yeah.
Back when I was just a kid in the room and I was just signed, I didn't care. I didn't care about time.
Yeah.
The producers had to, and I even fought them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then cut to me, my own shop. I'm just like, telling DP, I go, you got 2 minutes, we're moving. It's a real thing. Yeah. Was it nerve-wracking for you to kind of step into, because you said you never joined a production company. So
I really didn't. Yeah, it wasn't that nerve-wracking for me because I had come up in all the I didn't go straight to directing, so I got to be in grip, I got to be in camera a little bit. I kind of learned everything. I also am very business-minded. I'm very split personality where I can do the business stuff and I can do the creative. I enjoy and I'm more rewarded by the creative. But honestly, when I switched, I was like hire all the best people, Sure. So I don't produce myself. Producing is like, I could do it. I would go gray and be dead by 40. Like if I had to produce all the time.
And you're sharing the workload from what you're truly being hired to do.
Yeah.
You build your team. I mean, and that's what I think that's the scary part. Well, I'll speak for me. The scary part for me was for many years of doing it, I was almost like just hiring out one-offs when I got jobs. Yeah. And, even having producers are controlling your money. I have a business team, a business management team, but your producer is still in charge of that money. And
your producer's still in charge of your money, and
they can say that you're $6,000 or you're on budget, but when your bank accounts 3 weeks later don't show that you're 6,000 under, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
And many times. Yeah. So, that's why I say, were you nervous? Because this is a business, for fuck's sake.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't look at it from a business, you will get run over.
Absolutely.
And you won't let your creative won't move up the ranks, because you have to know which I do need a steady. I do need a super techno on Burn It Down. I need the super. Yeah, but we're in the middle of the desert. We have to take that techno from Chicago and.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not that I would never I work with other production companies all the time, but I think there's also a lot of value in having to play that role, because then you keep yourself from being taken advantage of when you do work with a big production company, and B, like you understand what they're going through as well. And so then it's like, it's a little bit more of a healthy relationship. But yeah, every job serves a purpose, and the production company thing, I also don't know on the size of video budgets these days. It's tough to like, I envy the people who can make a living out of just being the director and not having to do the edit and, you know, be the production company or get a camera kit fee or something like that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because okay, so let's switch gears for a second. Something that's very personal to me, and I can talk an ear off about, and not a lot of people talk about. How has fatherhood shaped or changed your perspective in the craft? And what I mean is this: on my first child, about somewheres in to maybe 2 years in, it killed me. It took away everything I was scrapping and clawing and meant everything for. I remember the moment with him.
Yeah.
And at that point, I couldn't find me again. It took a while to figure out. And I know it sounds weird, but I lost my coping mechanism with fear. I turned down calls because I was scared.
Like scared to be gone?
Scared to do the job. I didn't know what was going on. It broke me.
Yeah.
It destroyed me to the ground.
Yeah.
But then through it again, what came out of it?
Yeah.
I'm so much more complete of a filmmaker, as a father, everything. Yeah. How did that shape you with your work?
It was scary at first because I knew I had to work more, like to provide. But honestly, like I love personal challenge, like growing and changing, like that moment of going off the road to being a director. Like I eat that up. I feel like I'm developing my Swiss Army knife persona in a way. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of working through some different things. Like done that, can do this. When I had him, Wyatt came in and I was like, it honestly, I felt like it made me better because it somehow made me feel like nothing mattered. I used to be real bad with anxiety to where I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this job the best, or oh, they don't think that I'm doing this the best, or oh, like, am I writing the best idea? Or, you know, like, oh, I have to be the biggest thing was I have to be available to this job. Sure. Once I had the kid, I was like, that's so much more important than anything else. And then I was like, it kind of freed me weirdly. Like it felt like a little bit of a burden was off my shoulders. I didn't feel like I had to be quite as available to everyone. And guess what? No one cared. So I realized like all through my 20s, I was sweating thinking I had to be available for all these clients. And then I was like, oh, like I can wait till 10 a.m. to start talking to people instead of taking that 7 a.m. text or whatever.
It's a comforting feeling when you finally realize you are okay and you are doing this for a living.
Yeah.
You don't have to look back behind you to see if you're going to fall. Or
it definitely has fed my creative bank too. Like I have an old pickup truck and I bought it because my first memory from my dad was my mom would play Brooks and Dunn in the kitchen and my dad had AC/DC stuck in the tape deck of his like 89 F-150. And I just remember vividly like that juxtaposition. Like I'd be in the car or the truck just singing TNT. And I'd come into Boot Scoot and Boogie in the kitchen, mom be making dinner. And I just remember that being such a like personality shaping thing. So I bought a pickup truck when my son was born. And now I feel like creatively, I'm so much more aware of how he's perceiving things and the things that are memory worthy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that I've referenced that. I had to write a treatment this morning and I was like, I felt like I was writing from a perspective of things that he would appreciate versus the stuff that we as adults kind of start to throw away because we've seen it before, we've done it. It's like there's so many people, and the older we get, I feel like the more in tune to that stuff we have to be. And we see it all the time, right? Like younger directors come up and they start taking the jobs from the older directors. Once you get jaded and you start losing relevancy in a way where you're kind of like not in tune with the TikTok stuff. Like I know TikTok's going to phase me out one day because I can't with that shit. No. So I'm like, I can sit there and I can look at it and be like, yeah, that's probably why it's successful. But ultimately I'm like, that's one of those things that I'm going to throw away the relevancy at some point and be like, that's not worth my time. No. But anyway.
Do you see yourself transitioning into both, but I mean, features, TV or spots?
I think features. Maybe features TV. I love to write. If I could boil it down, I actually had this thought the other day for the first time. I was like, if I could boil it down to what I love the most about what I do, what would it be? And it's totally the story. Like for me, it's the story, and it's not even a musical thing. It's just the story, and it's just relating to people. Like I'm one of those guys that'll read the YouTube comments because I like to just, and I'll just like see some of that snarky stuff and be like, okay, that's, part of it. But I like to see what people are actually picking up on and what they relate to. Cause I was somebody that used to comment on videos as a kid. So, for me, that I think features would be my next thing. Cause I like small town life and like that kind of log line of realism and small town authenticity.
Sure.
So.
The commercial advertising game doesn't fit that
mold. I would only selectively do like hat spots, like with Stetson or Lucchese spots, or things that I could get into a very much so lifestyle. I wouldn't see me doing like a Mazda spot unless Mazda was like, hey, we want to do like small town America. If it's just pretty, like that's for the DPs to me. I'm like, I don't really see myself doing that if I can't get into the meat of it,
Sure. Now, would you think as a director, man, I go back and forth on this one, is having a distinct style advantageous in your opinion? I believe yes. I have done it. I have learned over as a young director doing all those pop punks and rock videos and stuff like that. I was playing and whatever I was learning and figuring it out.
Yeah.
To then now I know exactly what it is I want you to hire me for. So in other words, I'm going to create this lane that's super, super narrow that I know nobody else is going to be on it, so I can go Mach 10.
Yeah.
I want to go fast.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
I completely agree. Like I think that's your calling card. And it totally closes down the conversation of creative difference, because once you're on a job, if they've hired you and you're very specific with your way you work, as soon as some Joe Schmo comes in and they think they've got the idea and they want to change it, oh, he needs to be singing to the camera. It's like, you didn't know I was the profile guy? It's like I've been called that a lot. Like that's been
I feel like what is it they say? I feel like he's not engaging the audience enough, which means look at the camera.
Yeah.
I never look at the camera.
Yeah.
Ever.
My favorite is and I'm totally just like talking shit a little bit, but like when somebody comes up and they're like, do you feel like that reaction from the actor was believable? And I'm like, did you study for this? I'm like, that one drives me crazy because that's all I'm zoned in on. And I'm looking at it and I just hear that voice over my shoulder. Do you feel like maybe we should get more of a reaction? Life is subtle. I'm like, and that's that's probably the thing I fight biggest in my videos is overacting. I hate it.
Me too, dude. And that's what I love about your work. And I said it to Troy, it's discipline. It's not, you're never going to see a Dustin video that shits the bed or cornies out.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's the same thing with me. I asked, how was that take? Are we riding that corn line?
Yeah.
No, it's not cheese.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Like was that cheesy? No.
Yeah.
Move on. I'm so big on that. Yes.
I'll show a scene in silhouette. If the actors can't act, I'll literally be like, kill all the fill light. We're letting this play in silhouette because and I've had that. You've had it too, I'm sure. Like where you get an actor that's just terrible. And it's like they have no range whatsoever. And you're like fighting for any way to make this look like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I was visiting a set yesterday and the artist was singing and the hat was down, handheld. The camera was on steady, but he had his handheld mic and he's doing this. And I got a little worried for my friend, but somewhere on the move, it came around and he got silhouetted into this light. And I was like, and they were kind of doing a homage. I think they even said there was like a Spidey reference to like 2020, 2004, whatever. I'm like, you know what? I'm a little nervous for how much you're not going to see lips and, just do a take, same thing, medium, close up, but have his movement half and do it through the silhouette and just have it so you got it. It's there.
I have a question for you, actually. I had this thought the other day.
Rip.
How do you feel about, I've been trying to identify this lately. And I feel like for me, my source of inspiration never comes from last year. It comes from like 10 years ago, like all my stuff. Like I'm bring back the Dwight Yoakam, you know, like singing like this kind of thing. But I feel like a big source of the videos that we would deem bad or not great today is because so much inspiration is pulled from, it's too close. Today. It's too today. Yes, you know, it's so like
4 years ago.
We saw Sam Hunt's new video last week. Let's do that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And then it's like, to me, I feel like the broader the scope you go to pull inspiration from, it's got that element of nostalgia. It's also like, it's like Tarantino to me. I'm like, he's sourcing all, like he said it, all his favorite movies are basically just an accumulation of his favorite moments. But it's been long enough that we're ready for that art to be recycled that way versus seeing exactly the same thing again.
Sure. I reference a lot of old movies, old videos that I've done, even old directors that inspired me back in the day when I was getting in. I'm actually going back to them even now. Like, I mean, I said it the other day, Samuel Bayer. Do you know who Sam Bayer is?
Yeah.
I mean, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I have tried and tried and tried to more or less emulate his style.
Yeah.
And wow, it's raining.
It's really good right now.
And I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I know there's swing and tilt elements. There's long. He's got a lot of things going on with his shoots, and sometimes about 8-10 cameras. But I reference some of the old school goats. Still, and some of those styles.
I mean, I've probably referenced some of your punk stuff at some point in time. I'd have to go through which ones you've done to nail it down, but I know I've done that from Shane Drake's.
Yeah.
And,
Shane was just a little after me.
Yeah.
Shane and I were at the same. He got to Crossroads, the company, a few years after we had got there, and he was like kind of the baby director. And him and Brandon Bonfiglio were asking. They were exclusive together, and they were always kind of like, getting the ropes from us and stuff.
I've still never met Shane, but I'll have to tell him when I do see him. That Panic at the Disco video was for me at that age, I was like, this is incredible.
I mean, we were doing when Shane was there, we were doing Simple Plan. I'm Just a Kid, Addicted, Good Charlotte, Girls and Boys, Good Charlotte, The Anthem, Good Charlotte, Predictable.
That's amazing. I mean, I've seen all
of those videos, that pop punk era, and then it was like Story of the Year.
You didn't do Love Is Just a Lie, did you, for Simple Plan?
No. We did Balls. Whatever that album, like 7 or 8 videos for them for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you in LA when you were doing that?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I was on a directing team, Smith and Bourne.
Okay.
And we just developed different styles. We were best friends in college at Loyola Marymount Film School.
Yeah.
And we were hustler kids, man.
Yeah.
We got it, and we did it, and we traveled the world shooting rad videos and stuff. But
that's awesome.
Our interests and styles, it's hard to keep a directing team tight, Yeah. And it's like a band.
Everybody's experiencing life at different phases too, and then it's like
he got married young, and then he was interested in a whole different music scene and in screenwriting. In movies, and I had nothing to really into that at the time. I was just going hardcore into the music game. But so then when we broke off, not shortly after, about 2 years or so after I moved to Nashville, but I was doing like Story of the Year and all those bands and Three Doors Down.
Yeah. Punk was like, I mean, obviously like my dad with AC/DC and my mom with country, like that's all I am. I was listening to Pierce the Veil on the way over here.
Really?
Yeah.
No, what would be your have you identified maybe kind of like some of your own little personal process that it takes for you now that you do have a family and time is so so spread out? Do you have a so-called process that you need, either that being either on set that you need or to come up with the ideas? How do you go about
like creating an idea now that my time is it's tough. It's way harder now. It's way harder because normally it's
not as exclusive.
It's not as exclusive. And I actually called my little brother yesterday. I was writing a treatment and I was like, God, I can't figure this song out. Like my head was in a different space and I was like, you listen to it, tell me what you think. And so I have different methods. I pretty much have to remove myself from family to write an idea. Typically, I listen in my car. Like I'll drive for no reason just to listen. Or I love writing on the plane. Like I'll write on the plane if I'm traveling. But yeah, the process is entirely different. Like I don't really stay up late and write anymore.
Okay.
Because the kid gets up so early.
You know
I'm
he's
like,
coming.
yeah, I'd rather go to bed early, get up 2 hours before I know he's gonna wake up,
Yeah.
and write then with a fresh mind in the morning. But that process is totally different now. It could be anything. Yeah.
Now, is there a DP that you have been admiring from afar that you're like, man, when the project's right, that we could shout out?
Yeah. Doug Porter. I'm working with him for the first time on a Lainey Wilson video next week.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's he from?
He's from California.
Doug Porter.
Yeah.
Never.
I'm such a big fan of DPs in general. Doug, I loved his Ghost video for Justin Bieber.
Oh,
He shot that with Diane Keaton. I thought that was great. I know he shot other stuff I love. I'm pretty picky on the DP front.
Now, do you, like me, I'm sure you do you tailor your DP and his or her skill set
Every time.
to the creative that you want executed? You know, and that's what I tell a lot of DPs. You know, we share stories. You know, it's like DPs are always like, dude, you know what's the most annoying thing? So when a director comes up to you, you're like, yeah, just I'm stoked to have you. Just do your thing.
Yeah.
Do your thing. You know.
Yeah, I cater every job to the DP for sure. And it's such a bummer when you don't get the one you want, or they're booked, or you have to settle for someone, or you're getting someone else pushed on you that you don't really want for the job. And it's like, I know my job's going to be a little harder because I got to get them excited about it. And then I got to get them out of their wheelhouse or their normal bag of tricks to achieve this thing that I know is not really second nature for them.
Yeah, and get them have that allegiance to you.
Yeah.
And to want to take the shirt off their back. You know.
Yeah.
I can tell that your videos are hard. You're not hard. They're involved. You know, you're not just you're putting the cameras where they need to be, and you know, you're hoofing, you're getting to the right spaces.
Yeah.
You're covering ground. You know, they're not just sitting in a chair kind of videos.
Yeah. At the risk of being too self-aware, I've heard that my videos are the type that would, for a first-time relationship director DP, scares a DP off. Because they're like, they don't know if I'm super organized and can accomplish all this, or if I'm just a train wreck and I'm going to like give them no time to light. Because my stuff is usually, it's pretty big, you know, like it's usually a pretty stacked day, a couple of location moves.
Yeah, if you're doing a beginning, a middle, and end, three-part, I do the same thing just because I don't want, in my rationale and 3-minute song or 3.5 minutes, the three-part vibe is so that you don't, you're interested in the new material, the new landscapes that are coming into your project. 2 minutes and 15 seconds in, you're like, oh, hold on, I'm not gonna turn it off yet. This is cool.
And that's so much harder now. That call for that need is so much more now than it used to be. With TikTok, that's like, I mean, the attention span of everybody is eliminated now.
On Bailey Zimmerman, I think we had 3 company moves on a pretty big show.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you're moving. I mean, it was with Dylan. We were moving trucks.
Yeah,
3 company moves just to get that. You know, I mean, it calls for some scope.
Do you work with an AD as often as you can, or every time?
When I can, meaning, I enjoy smaller budgets in the $60,000 range. Yeah, because, it has the right amount of bells and whistles for me to be able to play and not be boxed in, and to explore and to just go, what do you think? I think, I don't know, let's try both. Let's go. Yeah. And not be tied in. I love those. I've done plenty of big shows where I can come out of the car and give that flex, you know. I mean, it's cool. Yeah. Get the horn. You know. Yeah. Versus, I don't know, getting into the grid of it. So to answer your question, sometimes I don't have ADs. Yeah. I don't need them.
I'm entering that phase where I'm almost like, if I can't have one, then I don't want to do the job.
But that to be said, you need them on certain jobs though. Troy will allow me to do that on certain jobs if you've got talent or extras or whatever.
Yeah.
Period. And things have to be coordinated or whatnot,
Yeah. I think for me, it's always schedule. Like, and extras, it's really nice to have an AD, but I don't mind doing the AD job. But for me, I've had the luxury of having them a lot lately. And I'm like, man, it's really nice to just be able to go sit with my iPad in the corner and nobody's bothering me. And I'm like flipping through stuff. And honestly, I think the creative wouldn't necessarily suffer without them. It's just my peace of mind at the end of the day going, man, I had a couple moments down. Because, like on set, you're going and going and going and you're not drinking water, you're not eating, you're just running.
I've implemented a team though.
Yeah.
Where a guy, do you know who Edgar Evans is?
Yeah.
Edgar is my editor.
Oh, cool.
But also
that's nice.
He fills in ADs.
That's cool. Yeah.
It just keeps the team moving. He comes in and fills. He's just part. And I'm trying to shepherd him as a director with some of my people. Bring him in. So wearing multiple hats on smaller jobs, I don't like to speak up and be constantly going, yeah. No.
I mean, even if you have an AD, inevitably at some point somebody's going to come up to you and go, "Hey, what are we doing next?" And it's like, then you got to step out.
Do you still do some small shows?
I do, yeah.
Just kinda...
I mean, it's like I've never set a minimum and don't plan on it. If I'm interested in it, like I remember that was a big topic. Like when I was coming up, like you'd hear like, "Oh, that director's minimum is this," or "That director's minimum is this," and I always thought about that. And I was like, "What if you really want to do a job?"
Sure.
And so for me, like I went to Ireland and shot like 5 visualizers for a buddy, and it was just me and an assistant that shot the whole thing. And it's some of my favorite videos. Like I love it. So I still do small shows all the time. Yeah.
Oh. Do you see yourself relocating ever? To a more I don't know, Atlanta for features or LA or New York.
I don't think I'll ever go to Atlanta or New York.
Enough desert by you.
I call it my Taos house. I always tell my wife I'll wake up in the morning over coffee and I'll be like, I was looking at some Taos houses today. I was talking to
I've been there.
Have you? Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous. The high desert. I went out there on a whim and the peace and quiet. It's nice.
Taos is amazing.
I'd love to be 6 months on and off in Nashville. Like be out there during the winter months. I'll ski, come up with some ideas. Like, how it is. Like we rarely work in the winter.
No.
So I'm like, right now I'm like completely just squished in my calendar and it's great, but I know like I got to do it now because I'm not going to do anything in the winter.
Yeah.
But
so if you were to write a treatment for Cody Parker, let's just say, is your relationship with them to where you hit them on the phone or you hit them with the treatment first, let them marinate on it, get it tight, then get it to the label? Because that's what I do I could imagine the friendship like with Wolf or all these artists I have similar to you have. It really doesn't go to the label until it's been signed off by them and they are telling me, hey, keep it somewhere in this range, whether we do or not. That's hard because you're building an idea with the artist.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you work?
That's pretty much how it is. It's different with each one. With Parker, it's like he's pretty hands off. He's just like,
I could see.
Like he's just like, what do you think? With Cody, he's a genius. Like the guy, him and I get along because we both love the same era of music. We both personally are very similar. We're kind of both bulldogs a little bit. At least that's what my wife says. Like she actually knew Cody before I did back in the day, because they're both from Texas. So that's kind of wild. But Cody, with that process, it's like him and I may not even speak about it, and then I'll come up with an idea. Like now, that's relinquished. Early on, he was like with Human, he was super involved and just telling me like what he wanted to present. We actually on Human had a video going a completely different direction, shooting in Nashville. I had been led at the time to believe that he didn't want to be present in that video. And I was like, that's odd. And then it circled around in a really weird way where he called me and he was like, hey, I saw this treatment, but like, this is about me. I want it to be about me. And I was like, oh, well, dude, that's what I want it to be. Like, I just thought, I heard that you didn't want to be in it. And he was like, no. And so then we end up just like, we're doing this like this way. And then we custom tailored that treatment, and that grew on a daily basis. Like the shower scene, which is he talks about it on stage. It's hilarious, but he's like, yeah, Dustin's been in the shower with me on the bus. I was on the plane headed out for, I think, the second to last run we were going to do. And I think I was scrolling through Shot Deck, and I was just pulling like live lighting references. Cause I was shooting the whole thing. I was like, I need to give this a look.
Sure. And
I saw this guy just like decompressing in the shower. And I was like, that would be such a cool down moment for the bridge. So that kind of just ended up being added. And we both to this day are like, that's one of the best shots in the video.
Cool. Yeah. I did it on a, what was it? Jake Owen video for Up There Down Here. Was a bull riding thing.
Oh, cool.
And it was all about this bull rider and multiple layers of his relationship. But one of my favorite scenes is a bathtub scene, just shaking it out, just thinking back and having him, sweating or whatever, and just like the simple, human little.
It's not even that it's something you haven't seen before when it's a moment like that. I feel like it's a moment they haven't gone before, and that's always really cool. It's like when you can throw something in their work that's a little, out of the ordinary. It's kind of nice.
I've pushed, probably twice I can think of right now, at least in my mind, where it was about 3 days from shooting. No, that's not right. It's about 5 days from actually shooting and leaving and doing everything that I scrapped the idea. I said, this isn't the right idea. I have the right idea. It came to me today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when we wrote the treatment 2 weeks ago, it wasn't right. I had to be honest. I called everybody, and I ended up the label. I didn't even know the protocol. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, imagine you are slated.
Yeah.
You've already been fed first half payment or whatever it is. You're getting on a plane. You're doing it's also, and you say, this isn't it. This is off mark. It's off brand. It's not right.
Yeah.
Why did it work before? Because it had to, and now I've got it.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, talk to the artist. He's like, I love it. Yep, you're right. And I did the whole video, from that moment in, still keeping the shoot date, but now we didn't travel. We kept it here. No treatment. Just go.
Yeah.
And it was Lee Bryce and opening the video he was in a shower, and it's just coming down on him as all called rumor or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and I did another video with Wolf. We had a video that was going to be a journey, like a travel, a biker gang traveling across the country. We had it all planned out with Winnebagos and how we were going to get out and what our road trip was.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was just not it. It was not the idea, because you can write that shit down. It's just like, I can see it. I can write it. It feels like a biker movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait. I wrote the words down, you know what I mean? But now I got to find it. I have no control. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just driving.
Yeah.
Maybe I got cold feet. I scrapped that video fast and ended up reshooting, not reshooting, doing the new idea. And it was a huge video for Devil in My Veins for him. We shot 2 days in Vegas, and it needed to be more of a cinema story rather than a documentary icon thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it has to be. Like, if you believe in it that much,
sure.
Like, you obviously have to get to a certain point where you're like, no, this is a better idea. But that's nice when you have the trust with the artist, That's
kind of what I was getting at. It's like you seem to be going down that same road where the artists themselves trust, believe, and feel your passion.
It's nice. It's a creative freedom for sure. You don't get fearful of them not liking the idea, because it's like, once there's a certain level of respect there, it's like you have a little more confidence in presenting that idea, and you don't fish for what they want. It's like, you come in with what you think is best. But also, I've always been a big advocate of don't try and build your reel with an artist. Like, you need to be building their reel. Like, you need to be building in their brand, keeping it, each artist is different. I'm not going to shoot Parker the way I would shoot Cody. And if I feel like I need more brighter stuff in my reel, I'm not going to force that on the artist,
Great of you to say that as you transition or interested going into movies, because that was a humongous thing that we did back in the day. And I know I still see people doing it, but I love that you said that, because I wanted to get into commercial spots. I was always trying to do, right? Nike, all these, and you look at a lot of my videos, I'd be like, early videos, what are they doing with this big, what is Paul Hunter? who's your DP? Max Goldman? I'll get Max Goldman. All right. You know, next thing we have these DPs, but it wasn't your own work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was a big identity crisis for me when I first started. When I got my first directing job after that 6-month drought, I was like, man, I want to take every job. I need to take every job. I need to pay the bills, keep the lights on. And I was like, do I need to just do everything, or do I need to just try and start designing my like look now? And I had a pretty big identity crisis there, because I was trying to get with agents. You know, like every hungry director, it's just like you do 3 videos and you're like, I need an agent.
I'm the next big thing.
Yeah. So I was like hunting for that, and I was like, I found myself trying really hard to no avail and not being fulfilled by a lot of the jobs I was taking. And then it wasn't until a few years in directing that I finally was like, I'm just going to work with the people that I kind of flow with and just let that live. And then all of a sudden it just started imploding and snowballing. And then it was like I was getting asked to do stuff closer to my wheelhouse, and I wasn't pushing myself out of my comfort zone very often, like except for times where I wanted to grow something I really believed in. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to do a big Poppy Cheetos commercial when I hadn't done any big Poppy Cheetos commercials. It was like, no, it's going to be a dark, seedy narrative. It's probably going to be in the desert, and there might be fire, you know, like it's like, and I try not to do the same video twice ever. Okay. Especially like, you know how as an artist calls, I love that video. Oh, yeah, I want you to do that for me.
A skateboard video back in the day. I have skateboards and torn jeans.
And it's like, man, I already did that. And for a much bigger artist, like this is just a step down to do that now. So it's like, but you know, there's ways you got to explore your own personality in your own life, and you got to take time to live life so that you can replenish that bank and start doing stuff that is still in your wheelhouse. Like I'm a big hobbyist. I get out and do stuff all the time just because I'm like, my inspiration bank is totally empty right now. I need to go do something.
What do you like to do? What's your release? Travel.
Yeah. I like to travel.
Immerse yourself in another culture. And
yeah. I went to Taos and sat at a restaurant by myself. I was looking at properties down there, and I got a bunch of inspiration down there just going, and I would sit at restaurants and listen to people talk. Or in Ireland, I would go to pubs by myself, and I would sit in there and just listen to the locals talking, and I'm like, oh man, like it's just refreshing, you know. Watch movies.
Now, do you have if you were to, what would be your favorite kind of movie you would direct? I guess it would be dark. Did you see the new Batman with the shadows? Whatever?
Yeah.
I freaking loved how the concept of it. The camera is always in the shadows, and the way they built those sets, and they used this.
I loved everything about that movie except the casting.
Yeah.
The casting, like Robert Pattinson, lost it for me.
Yeah.
I was like,
I feel like I can kick his ass now. I agree. You're not Batman.
I was like, Christian Bale is Batman.
Yeah, I can't
like
fuck with
this
Christian
is a
Bale.
lie. You're not my real Batman. Yeah.
But visually, man, God.
Dark movies are, because I feel like I always go like, I was listening to Pierce the Veil on the way here because I've been listening to country music all week, and I love country music, but I'm like, let me go hard for a second so I can come back to it and be like, okay, you know, like it's just like, it's funny. Like when my wife and I started dating, she would hear me listening to hard rock. Yeah. And like I actually was touring with Breaking Benjamin at the time too.
Those are my guys.
And you know Breaking Ben guys?
I did So Cold and Diary of Jane.
Okay.
Videos.
I didn't know that. That's wild. I went out and did Failure right after the hiatus. I did that live video. I had no idea I was doing a music video, by the way. And the label totally had me out on the road at a really good rate. They're like, by the way, this is for a music video. Make sure you get this song every night. And I was like, that's the cheapest music video they've ever done. Love those guys.
Well, yeah, I did. I did the original band lineup on
that's cool.
What was it? So Cold and Diary of Jane.
That was one of those calls. When I got that call to tour with them, I was like, holy shit, this is my like high school years gone hard.
A side fight with Morgan Wallen hit me up, and it was like he saw my interview with Bobby Bones, and he goes, dude, I didn't know half that shit about you. Breaking Benjamin, they're one of my favorite bands I've ever listened to as a kid, man. They got me into music or something like that. You know, they are amazing.
Yeah.
I went, like, they were one of the first bands that I actually chased down.
Really?
On the scene out there.
That's cool.
You know, and that was when they had Polyamorous, the record for the first album. I got to them during that. Yeah. So I was doing all of my plotting and all my friendshipping for the follow-up album. Yeah. And just went hard with them. And I haven't talked to Ben in a while, but I do know Keith very well.
Keith is awesome. Keith's my boy.
My wife went to college with him.
Oh, no kidding.
Lived up in UT or whatever. So they go back.
I love those guys. Jason, Aaron, all those guys. Sean.
Now have you danced in the played in the rock game?
I have.
Daughtry, you did a Daughtry video.
No, I didn't. I didn't do Daughtry. I did Hailstorm.
Hailstorm. Sorry.
Yes, Hailstorm did a video with Daughtry.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I did. That was, I forget how I met with them actually, but there was a stint there I was doing. I think I've done up until their most recent video. I think I've done all of them over the last like 3 years.
Yeah.
But
I could see you definitely playing in the rock game.
I love it.
More abstract.
Yeah, it's tough because rock doesn't get budgets like they used to. Like country's kind of popping now, where country's getting budgets. Rock's not really. I got an agent out in LA a couple years ago, strictly, and I told my agent, it was funny on the call. They were like, "So who do you know?" It's like stiff behind the desk. They're like, "So what do you want an agent for? Who do you like? You want Justin Bieber, Cardi B?" And I said, "No, I will turn down every Cardi B solicit you send me. I want the Killers. I want rock and roll. I want like." 3 Doors Down. I want 3 Days Grace. Like I want like all that rock stuff, rock and punk. And I got the opportunity to pitch on like, I was pretty close to a Nickelback video for a minute. But it honestly, like the solicits were few and far between. So I've done some Hailstorm stuff. I did a video with Memphis Mayfire, Breaking Benjamin. There's a few other off rock bands in there that I've worked with, but
I could see you with my old. I did a couple Shinedown videos.
I pitched on a couple Shinedown
because you're big production. I mean, those guys. You know what's great about Shinedown is they do value the music video.
Yeah,
they embrace the power of the music video. I don't know what their budgets are. I get If You Only Knew and Second Chance.
Yeah,
them.
You know, it's funny. Cody Johnson and I had a conversation recently where we were talking about the importance of music videos. Because we were having that conversation about just like how much really he wanted to spend on them. Because I'm like, you know, we're obviously doing good videos with Cody. And I wouldn't say that Cody spends, we're about to do another one that's really big budget. But pretty much we stay in that ballpark of what they should be for an artist his size.
Sure.
But he said something as we were talking about it. I was like, you know, music videos don't really get their return anymore like they used to. And I said, I'll continue doing them as long as you want to do them and do the ideas. Like, we'll go. Let's go. And he was like, you know, even if they're not like returning, he said, I want to leave that artist legacy of videos. And I was like, you know, that's such an important thing for an artist, you know? Yeah. It's like, because we were talking about this the other day. Like, if you look at the CMA records of artists that were consecutively up for Video of the Year, Alan Jackson was there like bam, 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 bam. But it was like even Brooks and Dunn would skip every couple of years. But Alan was putting out bomb ass videos, and that legacy, like you see it in social media now.
For sure.
Chattahoochee and all that gets referenced in TikTok stuff all the time. So it's like it leaves a legacy, you know?
Yeah, I say that a lot. Even when they were like, so you lived in the TRL days. I'm like, yeah, I did. I mean, I had videos retired constantly at #1, and it's because music videos then, the way the world was, is they mattered.
Yeah.
They mattered.
Yeah.
They mattered to a culture of people who wanted to know about that artist or see that work being made or have the highest level of branding for Blink-182. That's the highest that they're going to do. Yeah. You know, outside of a tour.
Yeah.
You know, so music videos to me are like, I'll never stop doing them.
Yeah. Did you ever do a Blink video?
No. We were, because when you're doing Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, and a bunch of them, you even with the Good Charlotte crew versus the Simple Plan crew, they would be like, oh, you're the Good Charlotte guys. Oh, you're the Simple Plan guys. Yeah. You know, because even then, back in the day, Frank, and me and Smith, he had more of a bro friendship with the Simple Plan guys, and I had more of the bro friendship with the Good Charlotte guys. You know, and that was a great dynamic duo because we brought it in, but you know,
it's funny. It's like bro country and Texas country today. You know, it's like, oh, you're the hat act guy, not the ball cap guy.
You know what I can see you with that would be. You need to fit with Co.
So I actually emailed Co's manager yesterday.
Seriously, that'd be amazing.
Co has been on my list forever. I'm such a Co fan. I met him when we won ACM Visual Media of the Year. That still sounds weird saying it should just be Video of the Year, but it's such a mouthful.
I agree. It takes some of the allure out of it.
Yeah.
You know? Man,
Yeah.
Music Video of the Year.
Yeah. Ko was standing. He was about to go up and do that song he has with Parker. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. Love You or something like that. But he was standing backstage and I met him. And I was like, we obviously didn't talk about videos, but I tracked down his manager's email yesterday. And I was like, hey man, this is a mixed connection. Like I would love to, and I've worked with his label too, so it would be a no-brainer.
It's nice to be at a place now where you can send those email blasts or text blasts and know that they're going to get received. Like you're going to get it seen. It's going to get entertained. Yeah. And I said earlier about 3 minutes ago, you said something like where you had to pretend like you're the next big thing. Well, you are the next big thing. Because that's all I hear of you, and I'm honestly
appreciate it. Yeah.
I do look at you as the next big thing. Thanks. And at one point in my world I was there and all that, and it's
God's been good. I keep telling people,
hands because I'm loving everything that you're saying. The people that you're working with, it's all craft work.
Yeah,
it's
been good. It's cool. Like I was in the other podcast I did. Somebody was the host was asking me about like that turn, and it's nice now because I've trudged for so long to do it. But it almost feels like I've just been kind of like treading water, and country music's kind of turned to my way of doing videos, and it's like the artists are there now.
Right man, right place, and you created your own path, and you've aligned everything. You deserve, I can go on for hours talking with you. I'm nerding out. I haven't even talked about half the things we could probably sit and go deep dive. At this point, it almost feel an hour and a half later, it almost feel like wait a minute, are you doing it all over again? Because I want to talk deep stuff, but I honestly do want you back. So that I can dive into some other meat. But I'm extremely appreciative that you took the time out to share your story and a lot of your wisdom for the cats that listen in.
No, I appreciate you having me. I'm glad we got to meet this way and get our chat
exactly.
Like,
now we can go get coffee, but we got it in formally, right? Through the power of cameras and lights.
Mutual connection.
Thank you again, man.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.